Recently, we discussed the left-wing victim pyramid. This is the hierarchy system that determines where each victim group ranks and how many victim points it receives. It was a broad overview, an entry-level course, Victimology 101. Now it's time to go deeper. So today we're going to talk about, more specifically, the racial victim pyramid. This is the victim hierarchy system within the victim hierarchy system. So we're going to set aside for now the other victim categories, woman, fat, gay, etc., focus only on race. Who comes out on top in the great struggle to be the uber racial victim? So let's take a look at the pyramid. First thing to note here is that for the purposes of the hierarchy system, we make no distinction between race, ethnicity, and nationality. These concepts are used interchangeably whenever is necessary. Beginning. Obviously, white people are at the very bottom. White people have no victim status, no rank. If you're white, you are nothing. You're worse than nothing. You are scum. You are garbage, a festering pimple on the ass of the world. No offense. You have 0 victim points.
And may God have mercy on your soul.
Next on the pyramid are the Asians. Now, Asia is a big place. Really, it breaks down into many different regions and ethnicities. But for the victim hierarchy, there's only one relevant distinction. There are 2 subgenres. So you have East Asians, the Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, all the Eases plus Korea, those sorts of places. We used to call those people Oriental, but you can't say that anymore. It's offensive now. Why? Nobody knows. Don't question it, you bigot. Anyway, these kinds of Asians are the bottom tier of the Asian bracket. They are, I'm afraid to say, perilously close to being white. In fact, they get closer to white with each passing year, and they lose victim points in the process. The East Asian tier has only 10 victim points.
Yeah.
Now, above them are what anthropologists refer to as the other Asians. All the other ones, especially Arab Asians, or Asians who look like they could be Arab. So these are the Arab or Arab-ish Asians. They are closer to white than they'd like to be, but not as close as the East Asians. They have 15 victim points. Moving on, a level up. Now we have the Indigenous or Native bracket. What does Native mean? Well, really it means someone who currently lives in the place where they were born. So you might think that that means you can call yourself a Native American if you are a white person born and raised in America. No, you can't.
My papa had high cheekbones like all of the Indians
Shut up,
did.
you white piece of crap. You can't be Native American. Now you might then ask, why is a white person allowed to call themselves a Native Marylander or a Native New Yorker? How can I be native to my state or city, but not native to my country? I don't know, just stop asking questions. Indigenous people are non-white people who are originally from a certain place. Yes, Native Americans also moved to this part of the world at some point in the past. Nobody's actually originally from anywhere in the Western Hemisphere, but these are all complicated factors that have no bearing on the racial victim hierarchy. The point is, Indigenous people are third on the pyramid. Within the Indigenous category, we have 2 tiers. The top tier are the Native Americans. Those Indigenous people who descend from native tribes that occupied territory in North America. These people have 25 victim points. Just below them, but within the Indigenous bracket, are all of the other Indigenous people, Pacific Islanders, Aborigines, Eskimo, but don't call them Eskimos, you bigot. These Indigenous people have slightly fewer victim points, but still end up with a respectable tally of 20 points. Next, let's get into the Hispanics. For the purposes of the victim hierarchy, Hispanics are anyone in or from Central or South America, Mexican, Guatemalan, Peruvian, Chilean, doesn't matter. You're all here, sitting pretty, with 30 victim points. You can pull rank on every other race except one, and we all know who sits at the top. The uber victims on the racial victim pyramid are black people. What do we mean by black people?
What do you mean, you people?
That's a hot topic as of late. Well, it's pretty simple. Anyone with African descent. So this includes black people in America. It includes Jamaicans, Haitians. It includes Africans. Now, it's actually not so simple because things get a bit complicated when you get into Libya and Sudan and those places. Those are mostly Arabs who are down in the Asian tier. So if you're from Sudan, you might think, oh, I get to be all the way in the top tier. No, not so fast. You're Arab. You're all the way down with the Asians, very close to being white. Those who get to claim automatic status atop the victim pyramid are those living in or descending from sub-Saharan Africa. Unless they're white and from South Africa, needless to say, Elon Musk is technically African American, but he's out of the club.
Sorry, white devil.
Those in the club get to cash in a whopping 35 victim points. So that's it, right? That's the pyramid, simple as that. You might think, but not so fast. What do we do about biracial people? How do we solve what we may now call the Kamala question. Using your internet without ExpressVPN, it's like leaving your keys in your car while you run into the gas station for a snack. Most of the time, you're probably fine, but what if you come back to see someone driving off with your car? You wouldn't want that. I spent a lot of time talking about the threats to our values and way of life. There's another threat lurking that many of us aren't even aware of. Digital predators waiting to steal your personal information. Every time you connect to public Wi-Fi at a coffee shop, airport, or hotel, you might as well be handing your passwords and credit card numbers to the sketchy guy in the corner. And trust me, that guy doesn't need to be some elite hacker. Even a tech-savvy middle schooler could swipe your data with some cheap equipment. Now, I'm not saying you need to live in fear or become a digital hermit, but you do need to protect yourself. That's why I use ExpressVPN and why I'm telling all of you to use it too. ExpressVPN creates an encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet. Their encryption is so strong it would take a hacker with a supercomputer over 1 billion years to crack. Just one click on their app and you're protected on all of your devices. It's no wonder that CNET and The Verge named ExpressVPN the #1 VPN in the world. Look, your data is valuable. Hackers can make up to $1,000 selling your info on the dark web. Don't let the digital vultures profit off of your personal information. Secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/WalshYT. That's expressvpn.com/WalshYT. And you can get an extra 3 months free. expressvpn.com/WalshYT. First, keep something in mind. All of the brackets above white qualify as people of color. Even East Asians, for now, are POC. White people are not people of color. They have no color at all, apparently. White people are translucent, colorless monstrosities. White people are like deep sea creatures. The light shines through them like ghostly apparitions. When they take their shirts off, you can see their internal organs like the guy in the Operation game. Here's why this is important. If you are POC, pay close attention.
Listen properly.
And you have a baby with another bracket that is within the POC category, your baby can claim the victim points of whatever racial group is higher on the pyramid. In other words, this brand of biracial person gets to round up. So if your mom is Japanese and your dad is Mexican, you get the Mexican victim points. If your dad is black and your mom is Pakistani, you get the black victim points. Yes, if your mom is from India and your dad is black, you do get the black victim points. That's how it works out. No, you don't get to add them together. It doesn't work that way in the racial hierarchy. In the overall victim hierarchy that we talked about in the last video, it does. But the biracial math doesn't work the same way. One racial category subsumes the other one. What if you're half POC and half white? This is where things get very complicated. Here's how it works. If you have a parent who is a non-black POC and another parent who is white, you lose victimhood points based on how close your non-white parent is to being white. So for example, parent 1 is Korean, parent 2 is white. Koreans are as close to white as you can be without being white, so the whiteness penalty is going to cost you substantially. You lose 75% of your victim points, bringing you down to a measly 2.5 points. If you have a white parent and an Arab parent, you lose 60% of your victim points. That's going to land you at 6 victim points. The good news is that the farther up your non-white parent is on the hierarchy, the fewer points you lose and the more points you have to start with. If your non-white parent is a Pacific Islander, that's a whiteness penalty of 50%, Native American 40%, Hispanic 30%. And if you have a black parent and a white parent, according to the math, you lose 20% of your blackness points, but still retain 28 points total, which means that a half black, half white person still has more victim points than someone who is fully Asian or fully Indigenous, though you now fall below Hispanics on the totem pole. But don't say totem pole, you bigot. There's one stipulation here. This applies only to biracial people whose non-white side is black. If one parent is white and one parent is black, this is where it's helpful to use what I call the Barack barometer. If you are as dark or darker than Barack Obama, even with a white parent, congratulations, you still get to be totally black and keep all 35 of your points. If, however, you are half black and half white, and that has given you more of a Drake complexion, then you will get hit with the penalty. Nothing we can do about it. Is it possible, finally, for a half white person to look so white that they qualify as completely white? It is possible. If your complexion is whiter than biracial SNL alum Maya Rudolph, if you cross what we might call the Maya marker, you can fall into the category of basically white. A basically white person is at the bottom of the pyramid, but in the top tier of the bottom tier. And for what it's worth, can claim half a victim point. It's not going to count for much, though. A person in this situation will have to earn their victim credentials in other ways. He might consider becoming fat or gay or developing a disability. Lots of things he can do. All hope is not lost, except for the bottom tier of the bottom tier, the fully whites. They are a lost cause, will never have any points of any kind, and should just go off and die.